Notice to Evans Print and Media Group, WCOW Radio, Magnum Radio, La Crosse Tribune, Sparta City Hall, and Sparta Free Library. Are there any changes to the agenda, Mr. Russ?
I'd like to recommend changing B and C. I'd like to have after employment in A, I'd like to go to Southside Early Learning Center with the construction there, and then followed by board workshops and dates.
All right, sounds good. And then I would request a motion to adopt said agenda.
So moved.
All right. So I have a motion from Mr. McKenna, a second from Mr. Hendricks. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Is there any public input tonight?
No.
Okay. Item 2, business. A, discussion and possible recommendation to approve employment recommendations.
Attached in board docs are our most recent employment recommendations. I'd like to pay special attention to Kyla Mansky. Is going to be our recommended candidate for the Director of Instructional Services. We're very excited to have her in that role, along with Mr. Ford stepping into the Sparta High School principal role for the 22-23 school year, along with the rest of them. Very excited to have the employment for the new teachers and new staff and transfers and so forth.
Thank you for that. Do we have any questions or comments at all? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to recommend to approve the employment recommendations.
So moved.
I have a motion from Ms. Prestwood. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Burns Gilbert. Roll call.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you for those. Item C, discussion and possible action to approve a canopy or other main entrance construction to Southside Early Learning Center due to recent construction. If you get your microphone there, Mr. Fromm. Nope, go ahead and press that.
I think we got it now.
There we go.
We had hoped when we pulled off the existing canopy on south side, we believed that there was brick behind that, and that was not the case. There's gaping holes and plywood and a sill plate that doesn't continuously go across the 3 doors. There's a fair amount of work that needs to be done. And right now it's not sealed from the elements. Water, rain the elements can get in there right now. It is not watertight. Next slide, please. Here's some pictures of that. We thought it'd be that tannish colored brick, and there's wood and plywood, and like I said, and regular concrete block, but it's going to take a bit of work to get that remedied. Next slide. The demo includes replacing the sidewalk, so this is the right time to add concrete piers for the steel canopy posts, and it helps protect the staff and students from the elements. Other district buildings have protection for its building occupants as they enter. This canopy design also draws your eye to the main entrance of Southside, where the roof is peaked. Next slide. The full canopy cost is $70,800. The partial canopy, which would just be over the front entry doors, is $38,300, plus 3 pairs behind the canopy. And since I just got this information from Fowler and Hammer, they project the repairs, and if we use metal panels for the front facade, that cost would be $38,000. If we go with brick, like the existing brick on the building, that would be $48,000. Both options totally seal up the building. So I'm looking for approval for that. That's not, we really don't have an option but to seal the building back up, the building envelope. But the question comes down to, is this the right time to put a partial canopy on it or a full canopy? And I guess if you have questions of me, be happy to answer.
Mr. Fromm, do students line up along the side of the building and would they be protected by that partial or by the full canopy, maybe for busing or something like that?
They have in the past for child pickup. They line up along the building.
Mhm. So if we only had a partial canopy, how would we handle that? Do we know?
Well, the cars are lined up. I mean, they could stay under the partial canopy, and then when their parent shows up or whoever their guardian is, they could run out to the car if the weather's not good.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you could just come on over to the mic or you walk fast, you're good. You got this. Yeah, that's right.
So we have a pretty nice setup. We have the cars come in the opposite way of that parking lot. So then cars, there's a lot of cars that can just stay in that loop. And what we do is we radio. And so kids aren't out there that long, but basically to keep things moving and especially at the end of the day, we try to have the kids that are getting in the cars and then the kids that will be in the next like line of 8 cars kind of out there, right? And then adults walk them to the cars and put them in safely. That's the main point. So, the awning is very nice. Like I said, we probably have 8 cars getting loaded at a time. And I would say that most kids can get under that awning and then quickly get to their cars safely.
And bus pickup must be at a different location then.
That's actually on Walrus Street and then,
Up front.
yep, up
Right,
front. And the curb is,
We widen
We-
out the road,
yeah.
so the buses are off the street.
Yes, okay.
My voice carries fairly decent.
Okay.
Mr. Fromm, real quick, so you were speaking about the 38,000 from Fowler and Hammer and then the
Correct.
48,000 for the brick. Is
Correct.
that in addition to whether we decide full canopy or partial? I just want to be clear with that.
Yep, the actual roof is designed to actually be above that.
Okay.
And the rain will drain onto the existing roof, so we don't have the ice issue in the front.
Okay, as a follow-up to that, Ms. Hauser, so we're looking at a fairly substantial amount. What's the thought process from a spending standpoint?
This would be Fund 46 eligible. So we'll have approximately 400,000 remaining after the Memorial Field project wraps up. We have talked about using that for the high school auditorium though.
Which they're in grave need of help in the auditorium. No sound, no lights.
Yep. The 800,000 that you just moved into Fund 46, 400,000 of that was planned to be used next year and then 400,000 the year after. The 400,000 for next year was for the high school chiller largely. That'll take up the majority of that balance. If you wanted, you could dip into the remaining 400,000 that we thought we'd use in 23, 24, but if we have a more urgent need. So there's some options there, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
saying in Fund 46. The other option is take it out of our general operating budget and know that that's a deficit we'll need to cover from somewhere else.
I have the total costs. The cost, if we go with the metal trim, the total cost is $108,800. If we go with the brick, it's $118,800.
That was for full
Correct.
canopy.
Yes, that's for the full canopy. And if we do the partial canopy with the metal is 76,300 and then the brick is 86,300.
Well, it needs to, oh, sorry.
Mr. Hendricks, please go ahead.
Something needs to be done and for the $10,000 difference, I would certainly like to see us do it nicely in brick and not do this metal thing. And so to move this conversation along, I'm going to make a motion that we go with the partial canopy and the brick finish at $86,300.
That is, oh, yes, that's correct.
All right, I have a motion for Mr. Hendricks to move forward with partial canopy at a total cost of $86,300. Do I have a second?
Second that.
All right, is it second by Mr. Burns Gilbert? Is there further discussion here?
Yeah, is there any benefit over the metal, over the brick? And is there any, with the full canopy, does that help like divert water in any way or versus the partial? Or is there something that we,
But with the full canopy, we have the benefit, with the student drop off and pickup. And as far as the brick and the metal goes, that's aesthetic. That it'll be then building envelope will be watertight either way. So it's basically aesthetic, whether you want the brick or you want metal trim.
so my question is though, how is water getting away from the building? Does the canopy play a role in that? Or is there?
It will, yes. And that if we had a full canopy, that would help prevent some snow from coming up against the building. And it would aid in snow removal.
Further discussion? Mr. McKenna?
We do still have the option of just repairing what's behind the canopy for 38 grand, not doing an additional canopy, correct?
Correct.
And Ms. Lopez?
Yes, Mr. Fromm, so I'm a visual person. I have to see things, so it makes, if you could just explain to me, if we were to go with the brick, it would go across the entire front of that east
Can we
or
go back
east side of the
Yeah, go forward.
Go
one
forward
more.
one.
I'm not sure if you can see it on the pictures, but if you draw a line on the top of the door, front doors and windows, basically from there up would be brick in or metal.
So it's along the entire,
Correct.
not just under the
Correct.
canopy?
Correct.
Okay,
And we have to, regardless of the canopy, we have to do that work from one end to the other.
okay.
Because the
And-
canopy will actually be above.
And if we went with a partial canopy now, could a additional section of canopy be added later if
It
necessary?
could,
or-
we would have to remove some of the poured concrete, but the cost of replacing that concrete slab compared to the cost of the awning, I mean, you're probably talking maybe 15% of the project that we could have avoided by doing it now. But, if the funds aren't there or if they need to be used somewhere else, yes, it could definitely be added later.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Further discussion? All right, hearing none, I will go with the roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Can you repeat the motion?
Mr. Hendricks, would you like to, or would you like me to?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay.
So my motion is that we do the partial canopy with the brick facing option for $86,300.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
No.
Motion carries 6-1. Item B, discussion and possible action to set workshop dates and topics. Thank you both very much for that. Mr. Russ?
All right. In June, we came and we talked briefly. We had a long board meeting and it was at the end of the agenda. And it was basically that, yep, we should really look into this a little bit more. So with the fact that we have a new board, new administration, and I think it's important that we begin to think about some of the priorities of the board through board workshops. Those board workshops could be board governance, how we interact, how we run our meetings, how we interact with the public, how do we interact with administration, community engagement. I know Colin is passionate and shared some of his ideas. So really start to look into what do you, as a board, we think we need to do moving forward that's best for the district. Could be a goal setting workshop, priorities. So it's really a brainstorming session here to give us some ideas about how we can move forward together as a board, knowing that we have challenges and to make sure that we're running as effectively and efficiently as possible. So our high functioning boards, high functioning teams have norms, have roles, beyond just board president, vice president, how do we hold each other accountable and how do we operate? So WASB has some ideas as well. They have consultants, and there's might be some other ideas from local superintendents and local boards that may be able to give us some guidance with our current situation. With our new board, I don't even want to know who has the most experience on the board. Heidi, how many years? Third year. So, and then it goes all the way down to some months. So, and with the new administration, I feel it'd be a good idea to start talking about specifically board goals, board governance. Those were just some of my ideas. So, just wanted to get that out to get the ball rolling. And if it's okay, Colin, would you like to say a few words? Because I know you're very passionate and you've shared some ideas with the board.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. I think for me, it makes sense. I was trying to figure out what next steps look like. And I think maybe getting a first meeting on the books so that we can target that with whether that's someone from WASB or outside facilitator, but really focusing in on kind of those goals and norming and that process and that conversation made a lot of sense from my mind. And then from there, scheduling as needed, whether that's monthly, whether that's if we want to put some more, consistent structure that employees or community members, right, can expect. But I think really trying to target as one at a time right now to get this next step moving for that facilitation piece towards the goals.
And I will add that we're planning on the policy workshops already as well to keep that momentum going like we did before. So that's also in the works with the policies. This would be above and beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Russ, with that information, do we want to, I think we should set a workshop prior to our board meeting on the 26th. Is there a specific topic? Would we like to look at governance first, or would we like to make that a policy workshop and maybe look at governance prior to that? I hate the idea of waiting further, but I'm open to other communication.
So during my WASB session, they talked a lot about governance and how to develop that. So I don't know if we want to, because I'm still trying to strengthen my notes, let's say, and then create some slides for the full board. But if we wanted to do a policy workshop on that, I could just move that over. Or if we wanted to wait till I presented my the full report on that Leadership Institute, governance was just a small but incremental factor in that event.
Are we looking at a full report on that, Mr. Wells, at the next full board meeting on the 26th?
I'm sure hoping to.
Okay.
If I don't, I'll let Sam know.
Perfect. How about from an administrative standpoint? Is there any recommendation? Should we do a policy workshop prior to the board meeting, or do you prefer governance, or what's your thought?
My initial thought is for policy to wait on that so we can do a policy workshop and then bring that to the committee and then bring that to the full board, kind of what Ms. Kulig's last workshop was. Correct. It was before the committee, and then the committee of the whole had it. So the policy actually had 3 readings with that. So I thought that worked very well and continue that action. So I think board governance and board goals, I think is the next step. High functioning teams have goals. And what would a goal look like at the board level? It's overarching. It wouldn't look like, hey, the board is asking for student achievement. It is, we want like a student achievement goal. So the administration can help focus that on there to show the priorities, show the gaps, show the strengths. Same thing with community relations, with behavior, with operations, whatever the board decides to think. But that might be a way to start off setting some board goals, and then maybe framing that around. One of the board goals could be, we'd like to be a high functioning team, and what does that look like? And then all of a sudden the supports come with that.
Sounds good. Further discussion? Okay, so would you like us to set that day, the 26th, prior to that for board governance and goals at 6 PM? And then I guess what I would ask of the board is if we would be able to, Ms. Kulig, you spoke about Dr. Engel a little bit. And so what I would ask of the board is that we maybe be able to have a communication with Dr. Engel prior to that. And then we come to that workshop on the 26th with some information or guidance.
He's available. I can't guarantee that. 'Cause
Okay.
again, he has obligations in
Absolutely.
another district, but I could definitely reach out.
Okay, so let's tentatively plan for that. And we'll have Mr. Russ reach out with that specific information once we lock it down, if that's okay with everyone.
Yep.
All right, that said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Lopez. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Hendricks. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.